One of the most intriguing bouts on the upcoming UFC 300 card is the fight between Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. It's a clash between the old guard versus the upcoming contender in form of Arman Tsarukyan. We will see a clash of grappling styles, and in this video we take a look how Charles and Arman fare up against each other in that department. For that we watch some iconic moments from previous fights of the two and analyze their strengths and weaknesses in the grappling department of fighting. Let's start out with Charles Oliveira. He is not only one of the most exciting fighters in UFC history, he owns also the record for most submissions in history of the UFC. By the time of this video he won 16 fights in the UFC via submission. He got most of his finishes from the rear naked choke, some forms of guillotine as well as some anaconda chokes. But for sure he is capable of hitting attacks on all limbs of the human body. Back in 2012 he submitted Eric Wisely with a calf slicer, one of the rarest submissions, especially in MMA. No matter where the fight on the ground goes, Charles will have an ass up his sleeve from there. He will use unorthodox grappling methods for MMA like the deep half guard. Back at UFC 280 he threatened a leg lock from deep half guard to hit a wrestle-up versus Islam Makhachev before he got submitted in the second round. People should really think twice before shooting a takedown on Charles. He got some of his finishes with guillotines from failed takedown attempts. If people want to take down Charles, they should take a page out of Islam's book and use upper body takedowns because they carry significantly less risk for counter submissions. His aggressive fighting style makes him a fan favorite, but it's also his biggest kryptonite. He is very reckless, and this led to very bad situations in the past. He threw a naked flying knee towards Islam, and this ultimately led to his submission loss versus Islam. Charles attacks from every position on the ground. This led his face open for strikes in the past. For example, in his fight with Kevin Lee. He also has a tendency to pull guard, which he did versus Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush. Of course he has the ability to get back to his feet as he showed in both fights, but this tendency costs BJJ practitioners rounds on the scorecards on a regular basis. Arman showed his elite grappling skills in his fights with Islam Makhachev and Mateusz Gamrot. The world saw his wrestling and scrambling skills on full display. When the fight is on the ground he likes to do damage from top position. So in that regard he is grappling-wise the total opposite to Charles. With his wrestling-heavy style he emphasizes top control and ground strikes. He absolutely has the skills to capitalize on reckless maneuvers from Charles on the ground. He went with Davi Ramos, the winner of a gold medal at ADCC 2015. In case you don't know, ADC is something like the Olympics for submission grappling. Arman was never in any submission danger in this fight. He stayed on top and wore on the BJJ phenom. Arman is wise to the modern game. In his fight with Gamrot he protected his legs against the attempts of his opponent to roll in his legs. So he really does his homework even in this department of grappling. Arman likes to shoot for the legs with great success in his fights. But against Charles he should maybe take a page out of Islam's book and use upper body takedowns on Charles. His ability to scramble was on full display in his fight versus Gamrot. But when someone will capitalize on chaotic scrambles it would be probably Charles. In a best-case scenario for Arman he hurts Charles on the feet and follows him to the ground to do his work from there. This fight is so intriguing for the fight fans around the world because no one really knows what will happen, and even a prediction is kind of difficult. In this specific clash of styles the winner will probably be determined from an exchange that happens on the feet. If it's Arman getting hurt and forced into a sloppy takedown, or Charles gets caught again doing something reckless. How their grappling will fare up against each other is something to be discussed. What do you think? Who wins this fight and who has the advantage on the ground? So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.